Sunlight found the curtains and slowly filled the room. I opened up my eyes and listened to the quiet. No alarm was waiting, no schedule on my phone. No one needed answers, no place I had to go. It's funny what you miss when you spend years in a hurry. Staying in bed felt like a luxury, the richest thing I'd known in years. Not money in a bank account, not success that disappears. Staying in bed felt like a luxury. No meetings calling out my name, no race against the clock, no pressure to become something. Just one peaceful morning and nothing to prove. There was a time I'd wake up already running in my mind, thinking about tomorrow before today had even started. But lying there that morning, listening to the birds outside, I realized how long it'd been since I simply felt alive. The world kept spinning without asking anything from me. Staying in bed felt like a luxury, and maybe that's the strangest part. The things I worked the hardest for never gave me what this did. Staying in bed felt like a luxury, not because I earned the rest, but because for the first time I finally allowed myself to take it. I used to think freedom was having more choices. Now I wonder if freedom is waking up without fear. Staying in bed felt like a luxury, and I almost laughed out loud, thinking of all the years I spent searching for a better life. Staying in bed felt like a luxury, because peace had quietly arrived. Not in a city skyline, not in another achievement, but in a small room back where it all began. Staying in bed felt like luxury, and for the first time in forever, morning didn't feel like a battle, it felt like a gift. Staying in bed felt like luxury, and I wasn't in a hurry anymore. I sat down on the old front porch with a cup warm in both my hands. The morning moved so slowly, like it had nowhere else to be. The coffee wasn't special, just the same kind I've always known. Yet somehow every sip felt different than before. Maybe it wasn't the coffee, maybe it was everything around it. Coffee tasted like peace that morning in the sun, a little bit of memory, a little bit of coming home. Coffee tasted like peace, and I couldn't explain why. It felt familiar and brand new at exactly the same time. Coffee tasted like peace, like life had finally slowed down long enough for me to notice what I've been missing all along. The wind moved through the garden, the birds were already awake. Somewhere down the road I heard a tractor start its day. Nothing extraordinary happened, no miracle appeared, but sitting there in silence, everything felt right. The older I get, the more I treasure simple things. Coffee tasted like peace, not because it tasted better, but because I wasn't drinking it between two places I had to be. Coffee tasted like peace, because for once there was no rush, no clock pulling at my sleeve, no future demanding more. Coffee tasted like peace, and every sip seemed to say, you don't have to run anymore, you can stay. I've had coffee in tall buildings, looking down on city lights. I've had coffee in airports, chasing another flight, but none of those cups ever stayed with me the way this one did. Coffee tasted like peace, and I sat there smiling to myself, thinking how strange it is that happiness can be this small. Coffee tasted like peace, and maybe that's the lesson. The best moments in life rarely announce themselves. Coffee tasted like peace, and somewhere in that morning light I stopped searching for something more and started enjoying what I had. Coffee tasted like peace, and peace tasted like home. I saw him by the corner store, the same place we'd always meet. For a second I was 20 again, running down those dusty streets. Then he turned and smiled at me, and time suddenly appeared in the silver by his temples and the lines beside his eyes. I thought the years had only changed me. I was wrong. My friend had gray hair too, and somehow that hit me hard, 'cause in my mind we were still boys, talking underneath the stars. My friend had gray hair too. The years had found us both, not just in the mirror, but in every road we chose. My friend had gray hair too, and standing there that day, I realized time wasn't something I lost, it was something we survived. We laughed about old stories like they happened yesterday. The broken fence behind the school, the games we used to play. Some names were missing now, some dreams had come and gone, and somewhere in between we both became older men. The funny thing about friendship is how quickly it returns. My friend had gray hair too, but the smile was still the same. The laugh I hadn't heard in years still sounded just like home. My friend had gray hair too, and sitting there beside him, the distance between yesterday and now didn't seem so far. My friend had gray hair too, and for the first time in years, growing older didn't feel sad. It felt like a gift. We spent so many years apart, building separate lives, yet somehow one conversation closed the distance instantly. My friend had gray hair too, and I couldn't stop smiling, 'cause neither one of us had become the men we imagined. My friend had gray hair too, and maybe that's alright. We lost some things, we gained some things, and somehow we're still here. My friend had gray hair too, and as the sun began to fall, I felt grateful that life had left us one more story to tell. My friend had gray hair too, and somehow that made me feel younger. We sat beneath the old oak tree with 2 coffees in the afternoon. No hurry pulling at our sleeves, no place either of us had to be. For a while we talked about weather, about people passing through town, the kind of conversations men used to stay above the surface. Then the silence settled in, and neither of us ran from it. The things we never talked about started finding their way out. The fears we used to laugh away, the nights we couldn't sleep, the things we never talked about back when we were young and proud, the wounds we learned to carry without ever making a sound, the things we never talked about. And somehow it felt good to finally tell the truth to someone who already knew. He told me about his father the year before he passed, how he still reached for the phone sometimes, forgetting he was gone. I told him about the city and everything it took from me, and for the first time I didn't try to sound strong. Age doesn't give us answers, but it teaches us honesty. The things we never talked about were never really gone. They just waited patiently for the right moment to appear. The things we never talked about, the dreams that didn't happen, the people that we lost, the roads we wish we'd taken, the things we never talked about. And sitting there beside him, I felt lighter than I had in a very long time. When we were boys, we thought strength meant silence. Now I think strength means telling the truth anyway. The things we never talked about became the most important things. Not success, not money, not all those years between. The things we never talked about, my voice began to shake, because some friendships grow deeper when the masks finally break. The things we never talked about, and as the evening faded slow, I realized being understood might be one of life's greatest gifts. The things we never talked about were the things we needed most. There was a time I'd measure life by numbers on a screen, by how many people knew my name and all the things I'd achieved. Every goal became another goal, every mountain led to one more climb. I kept reaching for tomorrow without noticing today. Back then success looked bigger than it does right now. Success looks different now than it did when I was young. It doesn't live in tall buildings or everything I've done. Success looks different now. It's not about having more, it's waking up with peace inside and not needing anything else. Success looks different now, and maybe that's the surprise. The thing I spent my whole life chasing was never where I thought I'd find it. This morning I sat on the porch watching sunlight touch the fields. No phone ringing in my pocket, no deadline to outrun. Just a quiet cup of coffee and the sound of birds nearby. The younger me would have called it nothing, now I call it a good day. Funny how wisdom changes the way we count our blessings. Success looks different now than it did back in the city, back when every conversation started with work. Success looks different now, it's having people who still care when the money disappears and the spotlight moves on. Success looks different now, and for the first time in years, that realization felt freeing instead of frightening. I used to think success meant becoming someone important. Now I think success means becoming someone grateful. Success looks different now, it's my mother's voice at breakfast, my old friend down the road, the river at sunset. Success looks different now, it's sleeping without regret, it's knowing where I belong and not needing to be anywhere else. Success looks different now, and if I could speak to the younger me, I'd tell him to slow down and look around more often. Success looks different now, and somehow it looks a lot like home. The three of us used to meet here almost every Friday night. Same little table by the window, same stories every time. Now it's only two of us, sitting where we've always been. Neither one of us says much about the chair between us. Some absences get quieter, but never really leave. The empty chair beside us said more than words could say, a space no one was trying to fill, a place we chose to save. The empty chair beside us, and every now and then one of us would start a sentence, then remember he wasn't there. The empty chair beside us, and somehow through the pain it felt like he was still a part of every conversation. We talked about old memories, the ones he laughed the hardest at, the fishing trips, the broken truck, the summer that never seemed to end. Sometimes we'd both start laughing at the very same time, then fall silent together for exactly the same reason. Love doesn't disappear just because someone does. The empty chair beside us wasn't empty after all. It held years of friendship, too big for four wooden legs. The empty chair beside us, and every story we recall, made the distance feel smaller between memory and now. The empty chair beside us, and though it hurt to look, I couldn't help but be grateful for the years we had. When we were young, we thought we'd always have time. More summers, more conversations, more chances to say things later. Life had other plans. The empty chair beside us, and my voice began to shake, thinking of all the ordinary days that became precious too late. The empty chair beside us, and for the first time I understood the people we miss the most are usually the people who helped build us. The empty chair beside us, and as the evening settled down, I raised my coffee toward the silence and smiled for an old friend. The empty chair beside us still belongs to him. For most of my life, I was running towards something. Another goal, another deadline, another version of myself. I kept believing happiness was waiting farther down the road, just beyond the next achievement, just beyond the next success. The strange thing is, the finish line kept moving. I don't need to hurry anymore. The road isn't running away. The morning will still be here tomorrow if I don't do everything today. I don't need to hurry anymore, and that feels strange to say after all those years of chasing things that couldn't stay. I don't need to hurry anymore, and maybe that's freedom, not having nowhere to go, but knowing I don't have to rush. This afternoon I watched the clouds drifting slowly overhead, and realized I couldn't remember the last time I had done that. Back then every quiet moment felt like wasted time. Now I sit and let the silence take its place beside me. I spent years trying to get ahead of a life that was never behind me. I don't need to hurry anymore. The fields aren't keeping score. The river doesn't care how much money I've made. I don't need to hurry anymore. The birds don't ask for proof. The sunset never never questions whether I've done enough. I don't need to hurry anymore, and every day I stay here, the truth feels a little lighter and a little more true. Maybe the greatest gift of getting older is finally understanding that life was never a race the whole time. It was an invitation. I don't need to hurry anymore, and my voice almost broke thinking of all the years I spent running past beautiful things. I don't need to hurry anymore, because I finally understand the life I wanted most was never waiting somewhere else. I don't need to hurry anymore. And standing in the evening light, I felt something stronger than ambition, contentment. I don't need to hurry anymore. And for the first time in my life, it sounded like enough. I don't need to hurry anymore, and somehow it feels like winning. Carried a chair out to the field, the way my grandfather used to do. Just before the evening settled and painted everything gold, there was nowhere I needed to be, nothing waiting on my phone. So I sat there with the silence and watched the daylight go. For years I would have called this boring. Now I call it beautiful. The sunset didn't ask for anything. It didn't care who I had been. It didn't ask about my failures or the places I had been. The sunset didn't ask for anything. It just gave what it could give. A little light, a little beauty at the end of another day. The sunset didn't ask for anything, and somehow that meant everything. I used to think every moment needed a purpose or a plan, some reason to be useful, some way to get ahead. But the sky above the fields didn't seem concerned at all. It simply became more beautiful the closer it came to night. Nature never rushes, yet somehow it arrived. The sunset didn't ask for anything, not a single thing from me. sunset didn't ask for anything, and sitting there I learned maybe life's greatest gifts are the ones we never earn. The sunset didn't ask for anything, it simply let me stay and share that quiet moment at the ending of the day. I've spent years proving myself to people who forgot my name, yet here was something beautiful that needed nothing in return. The sunset didn't ask for anything, and my heart began to understand why I had been so tired for so many years. The sunset didn't ask for anything, it wasn't measuring my worth, it wasn't asking me to become more than I already was. The sunset didn't ask for anything, and as the colors slowly faded, I felt grateful just to be there, breathing it all in. The sunset didn't ask for anything, maybe that's why it felt like grace. I spent half my life believing there was always something more, another place to get to, another unopened door. Every time I reached a summit, I'd already moved the line, always chasing what was next, never holding what was mine. I thought contentment was something people settled for. Maybe this was enough, maybe it always was. Maybe I was too busy running to recognize it. Maybe this was enough, this porch, this sky, this quiet evening light. Maybe this was enough. And maybe that's why peace feels strange when you've spent your whole life looking beyond today. The fields don't seem to worry about becoming something more. The river doesn't question whether it should have been larger. The old oak by the roadside doesn't wish it grew somewhere else. Yet I spent years believing I needed another life. The world kept offering beauty while I kept asking for more. Maybe this was enough, the coffee in my hands, the laughter of old friends, the sound of rain on the roof. Maybe this was enough, my mother's voice downstairs, the memories in these walls, the comfort of being known. Maybe this was enough, not because life was perfect, but because perfection was never what I needed. I wonder how many blessings I walked right past while searching for bigger ones. I wonder how many beautiful days I was too distracted to see. Maybe this was enough, and my voice began to shake, thinking of all the years I spent trying to earn what was already mine. Maybe this was enough, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't looking at what I lacked, I was looking at what remained. Maybe this was enough, the life I came home to, the people still beside me, morning still ahead. Maybe this was enough, and standing there beneath the stars, I finally stopped asking for more and started saying thank you. Maybe this was enough. Maybe it always was. I spent so many years believing life was waiting somewhere else, beyond the town I grew up in, beyond the fields and county roads. I thought happiness was farther, just beyond what I could see. So I kept moving toward tomorrow and away from everything I had. Funny how life teaches us by letting us get lost. The life I almost missed was waiting right here all along, in quiet mornings and old friendships, in places I belonged. The life I almost missed was never loud enough to chase. It was hiding in the simple things I used to overlook. The life I almost missed, and standing here tonight, I finally understand why my heart never stopped looking back. It was there in my mother's laughter, in the river after rain, in the smell of coffee on the porch at the beginning of the day. It was there in every sunset I was too busy to see, there in every ordinary moment that didn't seem important then. The greatest treasures rarely announce themselves. The life I almost missed wasn't waiting at the finish line. It wasn't hidden in success or somewhere I had yet to find. The life I almost missed was growing quietly each year while I was looking toward the horizon. It was already here. The life I almost missed, and that truth broke my heart. Not because it was sad, but because it was beautiful. man boarding that train years ago. I wouldn't tell him not to leave. Some lessons require distance, some wisdom requires loss. But I tell him this: don't rush past beautiful things, thinking they'll always be there. The life I almost missed, and my voice began to shake, thinking of all the years I spent searching for more. The life I almost missed was never asking me to change, never asking me to prove myself, never asking me to win. The life I almost missed was simply asking me to notice the people who love me, the days I was living, and the blessings already in my hands. The life I almost missed, and as the stars appeared above, I felt something stronger than success, stronger than ambition, stronger than regret. Gratitude. The life I almost missed turned out to be my life, and it was beautiful.